Podcast. Your host, Billy Riddle. With me is my cheeky bastard of a sidekick, Simon Winch. Simon, welcome back.
That's always a pleasure, Billy. It's very intimate this evening. Very intimate. I mean, if we got candles, low light, someone bringing dinner around, it's just the two of us.
Didn't clean up or anything, this is just how it is. And I haven't cleaned up since the last show. I was in the attempt of doing so. We had a guy who was going to come on here and he canceled at the last minute. So we're just all going to throw something out there together anyhow. Pick back up next week. We got some really cool people coming up here in the near future. Working really hard to move into the video side of things, which we're really excited about because we're lining up the studio, lighting, production, all that kind of fun stuff, and figure out the schedule on that when it gets going once we get there. But a big way you can help us out and support those efforts is going and subscribing at patreon.com/get on tap for just a dime. Just a measly old dime a day is minimum. You could do more than that. You could do 5 dimes a day. You could do $100 a day. It doesn't matter what you do. We appreciate it. It's really going towards all the stuff we're doing here to bring you some cool stuff. It's a lot of fun what we do. And at the same time, we're going here and talk about local stuff. We could talk about international stuff. We could talk about regional stuff.
Been a busy week. There's a lot going on.
Very much so. It's been an extremely busy week. I'm exhausted. I'm kind of half glad that everything kind of canceled. We just come in here because the guy coming from Russell County, I didn't want him to have to come in here and then us fly through something and not be at our best. And I'm exhausted. I had to drive all weekend because I was in Russell County for a funeral this weekend. And so it's been back and forth and driving nonstop. I'm beat. And it was tough trying to find the motivation to come in here tonight. So I'm going to drink a couple of beers and see if I can at least get myself
get yourself perked up a bit, but
you're
looking a little disheveled. I mean,
yeah.
Is this the new unprofessional Billy that we're looking at here? Is this is this a new standard we're setting?
No, just a long weekend. Yeah, it goes to show you the older you get, the more rest matters. It really does. You gotta take care of your body a little bit better and be rested up. And when you're packing yourself full of caffeine and Coca-Colas and stuff to stay awake and 5-hour energy drinks for 2.5 days and you're not getting sleep. Yeah. Once you finally come crashing down, it ain't that crash down at 21 years old. Like, all right, I'm ready to go again in a day. It's 3 days later. And I'm like, well, maybe here soon it'll
Billy, I've already been there. I figured this out. Sleep is actually the cure for so many things. But anyway.
Yeah. Sleeping and Bojangles breakfast are the two.
Oh dear, I'm not sure about that.
The two best ways to overcome.
Listen, let's kick off. Let's kick off the one thing this morning that we all woke up to.
You mean P. Diddy fleeing the country?
Oh no! Oh. That was last night.
Oh, okay.
Night's news. Okay. This is this morning's news. I'm sure everyone woke up. I just went, what the bloody hell's just happened up in Baltimore with that bloody great big container vessel slamming into the bridge and it collapsing like a set of dominoes. I mean, it blows my mind how this happened. I mean, and there's all the Monday morning quarterbacking going on, and some of the comments out there are just ridiculous.
Well, this is great for us because I was thinking to myself, I was like, what great news. Well, not great news, but what a great opportunity for us because we have somebody who's been in the business and knows how these ships operate, knows how these ports operate. And obviously Baltimore is a very well-traveled port.
Well, it's a massive port actually for incoming goods from Europe. That's one of the big things about Baltimore. The bigger thing about that bridge is that it carried a lot of hazmat trucking traffic, because they you cannot run these trucks through the tunnels that they've got up there. So this is actually going to have, I think, quite a significant impact up and down the eastern seaboard. It's going to mess up all sorts of logistics. So this is the tip of the iceberg, but it just baffles me how a vessel of that size had at least 2 vessel blackout. full vessel blackouts.
Now, for us who don't know, what is a vessel blackout?
That's just when everything drops out. Or you everything, and normally it's an electronic issue, because all of your control systems, whether they're hydraulic, electronic, mechanical, whatever it may be, are pretty much governed by an electrical system. So they've got, multiple generators depending upon what they're doing. That was a fully laden vessel. So I'm sure they had, a couple of Jennies up and running. Obviously their main engines and all that good stuff. But it was a catastrophic, I suspect, electronic failure that pitches a vessel into complete darkness electronically. So everything shuts down, which, in a narrow navigation channel coming in and out of Boston Harbor, presents some really significant issues. No, I have to stress this. This is an extremely uncommon event. We used to train for them when I was offshore, and we would do vessel blackout drills. Particularly with certain offshore assets, we had to do those before we came into their sort of 200-meter zone. So you'd have to go through various DP trials before you could even get close and approach. So, and that's dealing with a live production platform. Here, navigating in confined waterways presents a number of problems, and which is why they almost certainly had a harbour master pilot on board. There's been comments out there, why weren't there tugs? You'll get that with some of the larger vessels. You've got to get them on and off the dock with tugs, and then they carry on their merry way with a pilot. So they were obviously off the dock. They almost certainly had a pilot on board. And then the lights went out twice in, a very restricted navigation channel. And we've seen the result. It is a catastrophic failure and a catastrophic collapse. It's a very serious problem.
So I was trying to think, do they have safeguards in place for this sort of thing? Because with the amount of traffic that goes through there, and just take planes, the odds are eventually one's going to crash. But the numbers that are out there flying every single day, man, it's almost like how the old saying goes, people get really afraid of flying and get scared and just look at them and say, you're not special enough. Because it's so rare. So, but you have all these ships coming in there so many times, so you expect it to happen at some point in time, so you expect to have safeguards in place.
Yeah, we had a similar incident a couple of years back. Remember when that oil tanker managed to get sideways in the Suez Canal and shut the Suez Canal down? And I still haven't really got the final answer on what happened there, because they got themselves in a pretty bad spot too. But here you've got, I think, night crews were working on the bridge. There was traffic on the bridge. We've got how many souls are still not accounted for. So, the loss of human life is significant enough. But yeah, this is a big deal. And I'm very intrigued to find out what happened. Everyone's saying, why didn't they throw the anchor? I think they were close enough to the bridge where the two blackouts, where dropping an anchor actually is, you can do an emergency drop. But, depending upon tide and current, that could have actually put them in a worse situation. So, you've got to dismiss certain arguments that we're hearing from the basement keyboard warriors down there. But, I'm intrigued to figure out exactly what happened. It was catastrophic.
And you talk about Baltimore, not only is it a major port on the East Coast, but it's also kind of a huge point for shipping as far as getting movement up to the north and the south, because everything coming from the northeast is coming down I-95, which is coming through Baltimore. And then I-95 is either staying I-95 and going all the way down the rest of the eastern seaboard, or it's punching out towards 81 or 70 and heading east and southeast, and you're hitting the rest of the country that way. So everything's coming from that part of the country. A lot of it's coming straight to Baltimore just to get on the other side of that bridge. And now
Yeah.
how traffic is going to be, and as you said, uh, um, hazmat trucks can't go in the tunnels. So that was their way around. Now they're going to have, I guess they can obviously go around the Beltway, but the Beltway is already a shit show as it is going through there most times of the day. And I'm not sure that there was even 95 that went over this bridge or not, but I do know that it not being open is still going to cause significant
Oh, yeah,
delays and everything else elsewhere.
yeah, it's a beast of a problem. Over the next few days, I'm sure it's going to be fascinating to see, how they confront these issues, because they really are significant. Yeah, so that was today's big news, but there's been so much other big news kicking around, locally and nationally and internationally. It's been a very busy last 7 to 10 days. I mean, a lot has happened. Israel is now fallen out with the US good and proper.
What happened there? Because obviously I missed that one.
I think that happened. Was it today or yesterday? Let me come back to that, because I've got to get my facts straight on that. But there's been diplomatic moves that have not been good moves. I think so. That's internationally. Ukraine and Russia, still a massive problem. I think there was more talk of crossing red lines and US troops, and
there was a massive attack in Moscow, the terrorist attack or
that
whatever.
huge terrorist attack. I think will have regional implications with how Putin deals with that, and none of those options are good. So that terrorist attack was just horrendous. A music venue. Come on. If you're going to make a political statement, that just doesn't seem even remotely appropriate. I just can't get my head around it.
Well, when it happened, the first thing I did is I said that it likely, we'll probably find out that it was somehow funded by the United States. And lo and behold, as we move closer and closer and towards the truth, apparently they were Western backed, as for what I'm gathering. I don't know but who knows anymore? You know what I mean? Like,
we just don't know.
Like, it could honestly be a complete fabrication and none of that ever happened. Some actors go in there and they've dropped down because that's what Putin ordered to do, and only a handful of people know, you know what I mean? And even if
it's a classic,
even if, and everybody's like, and everybody always has this to say about like a conspiracy, like, oh, well, if that many people knew about it, somebody would say something, blah, blah. Well, a lot of times people do say something and they get called a kook or they get dismissed, and you including dismissing them, but then you act like it could never happen. So it's strange. Who knows anymore what is real and what is a stage, and what they're faking to get narratives going in certain directions. Because I hate to get conspiratorial about it, but I mean, for the love of God, everything that happens, we find out later was, bullshit.
Now, what was the one, again, that was today as well. If it wasn't today, it was, maybe yesterday, the last few days, the Republican commentator that was hired by MSNBC, or was it NBC? I can't remember which. They're both as bad as each other. But they've hired this right-wing commentator that was, had strong associations with Trump. And basically the rest of the so-called journalists, we know they're not journalists, they're left-wing.
They're paid propagandists.
Well, they're actors.
Yeah.
They're running a show. They're not running a newscast. So to call them journalists is very disingenuous. So I'm not going to call them journalists. But anyway, whoever they were and what they pretend to be, they had a big coming together and have pretty much ousted, despite the corporate, hiring of this mouthpiece for their propaganda show. They've got out propagandized by their employees and pretty much just run this poor woman off. It's just a very sorry state of affairs. You just can't make this up. I mean, people have got to be looking at this from the outside, just going, what the hell is going on?
Well, I guess Biden did say they're coming out. The federal government will be paying for the bridge to fix it and all this kind of stuff. Which, you know,
Well, of course it's going to come. I mean, that's key infrastructure. That's exactly what the federal government was designed for.
yeah, well, to go in there and then but and here's the thing, and this is what I think ought to be illegal, or to some degree is when you come out and say things like that. Say, well, the federal government is when he says we're coming in and do this. No, things should be clarified. He should say, okay, we're going to come in as the federal government and we're going to rebuild the bridge and we're going to get it because it's going to take years of litigation and insurance and court and all this stuff to get it paid for and figured out. So we're going to come in and then we'll go after these people, But instead, what they do is they come in and they act like that they're the ones that are saving the day and that Joe Biden got this bridge fixed. No, he's just the one leading the federal government, and it should happen no matter who the president. You know what I mean?
It's an it's that at that point that should be a very apolitical crisis to resolve. I mean, there should be no politics behind it at all. This is a necessity. We've had a catastrophic disaster.
I mean, if you do something and you know,
this shouldn't be about getting political points.
No, but when Donald Trump says I'm going to put a 100% tariff on all incoming cars coming into the states that aren't manufactured in the United States, and then they start bringing jobs back, well, maybe you can take credit for something like that. But when it's something like infrastructure related, no politician should be taking credit for something that's status quo, that's run of the mill, that should be done anyway. And don't put it like that, because when you put it like that, you make people think, well, I should go vote for him because he fixed this bridge. No, anybody in that right mind is going to get that bridge fixed.
I think it's very disingenuous to make yourself the savior of the day, and I'll leave it at that. But hey,
and Trump did that quite a bit too. It's one of his biggest.
They all do it, and they are despicable for it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of crazy stuff going on, let's go across the pond. I don't know if you've been keeping up much, but I guess what is it? The princess has been missing, and now there's fake photos coming to light, and they're not sure.
Oh. The Duchess of Cambridge.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, what a storm in a teacup. Come on. If that's all you've got to focus on, wow, you've got a really boring life.
There's people out there that do this. They focus on it nonstop.
The amount of interest that corporate media puts on, the UK royal family, its issues, or whatever, whether it's a wedding, a divorce, a coronation, a falling out. I mean, I hate to say it, and I'm an Englishman, who gives a shit, really?
Well, they do, and that's why they do it. But it's perfect.
Naturally.
I mean, I feel like they go to these people and say, okay, here's the deal. You are a part of the royal family, but you're probably the best looking one of us all, because there's a lot of inbreeding going on in there, and there's some people that probably got some twisted eyes because they like keeping it in the family. So they say, we are the best looking ones out there, so you get to go out there and we'll call you the prince and the king and all this shit, and you'll get all the money, and they're going to bother the shit out of you, and they're going to follow you around everywhere, and they're going to take your picture, and that's going to be your life, while us behind closed doors take everybody else to task. You know what I mean? While you're focusing on what these princesses and stuff are doing, these duchesses or whatever the hell they are, when you're focusing on them and what they're doing, then you're not paying any attention to what's going on behind the scenes, exactly. The greedy little.
Oh yeah, I mean it's almost smoking mirrors, But you brought up a very interesting point that I just thought about, and when you're talking about diversity, isn't it interesting that the both potential heirs to the throne, Prince William and Prince Harry, both marry commoners? Now, if that doesn't, broaden your genetic pool, I think that's probably a good move. Whether it was a deliberate move or not, I don't know. But it's just a coincidence. Who knows?
Well, Prince, the king, I guess, did that with Diana as well. Wasn't she a commoner?
She was aristocratic, but she wasn't in the higher royal breeding lines.
Hmm. We'll see. Like I said, maybe they're, for the sake of branching out and figuring that, hey, look, we need to spirit out just a bit before we come back full circle because it's starting to get a little rustic with it. Because the one guy isn't too awful terrible looking, but he might be the one that's not really one because he doesn't look like one. The second one, the
Oh,
first one looks just like his ugly ass daddy. The second one
oh man, you're not going to catch me in this trap, Billy.
does. I mean,
You're not catching me in this trap. I just can't do it. I can't. But I know where you're going.
well, think about this. So like, well, you know, they think he's a family member now, so we got to go with it. So we'll kind of ostracize him and send him to the United States. And there, he'll have a kid, and that kid will be part of the royal family, though, and we can have our reign back in America again. Harry and Meghan have moved to the United States as operatives to get the Queen back in
Oh
control of the
my
United
goodness!
States.
Now you've been fully QAnon there. I don't know what tangent you jumped off on that one, Billy. But I mean, come on, man.
Why else are they here?
Yeah, if you're going to get out of the royal family and do it the way they did it, living in the UK was not an option. I mean, you can look at all the comparisons between the abdicated King Edward and Mrs. Simpson. Um, and there is a little bit of irony there. I do get why the two were so closely associated. But there is nothing more dangerous, right, than an heir to the throne who is a direct sibling. And that throughout history has always been a point of contention. And if you haven't secured your lineage and so forth, and all that nonsense, um, you know, siblings have been nobbled in the past. So this isn't uncommon to the monarchy. In fact, it's quite the opposite. There's something to dwell on, Billy. I can see your machinations.
Well, I was kind of trying to figure out how it works. So you had the Queen of England pretty much my entire life up until recently.
And mine. Absolutely.
And so now you have the king again. So how did she get to be the queen? Whereas I always thought royalty was always the king who mattered. So,
Well, she was the eldest daughter, and all he had was daughters. So she was heir apparent. So when he died, it wasn't, and at that point, it would have gone, if she was born first, and let's say there was another male child born second, the male would, at that time, would have been in line to the throne. It was on the male side. That no longer exists, funnily enough. It's been changed fairly recently. So, and as it turns out, it's following the male line with, William and now George. And I think Charlotte would have had the potential, had she been born first, under the new rules of inheritance. If she had been born first, she would be the next monarch. And she would have overridden a male heir, which would have been a first. But anyway, that's all. Who cares? This is America, where everything has been rejected there.
Well, no, I'm genuinely curious how it works. I didn't know. I always thought it was always supposed to be the male, so I didn't know if maybe the Queen of England's husband died, and that's how she assumed the throne, and then she held it to her son. So that's not how it goes because it's got to stay family. So did she have a husband, and was he referred to as the king?
Who are you referring
to? The Queen.
The Queen, yeah. Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. He was, because he wasn't direct line. In fact, he was more of Greek royalty, funnily enough. But he had no interest in the British lineage. It was all on her. So he was never king. But he was just an absolutely awesome dude to be able to, at the time that he because he was married to uh, Elizabeth, Princess Elizabeth, before she became queen. So he was always going to be second fiddle, and I think he did a remarkable job over 70 years. Um, you know, I think he was absolutely perfect for her.
So it's not like
But he would never be king.
so he could never be king. So let's see.
It would always gone to his heir.
Uh,
So whether it was in
so
this
now the
case, it was
king now
Charles.
is his bride considered the Queen of England.
Yes, she is now, and that's actually quite contentious because as a divorcee, she should have always been referred to, in my old traditional fuddy-duddy ways, she should have always been referred to as Queen Consort. But they skipped that under Queen Elizabeth's rule and said, when they're married and he inherits the monarchy, the Queen Elizabeth wanted her to be known as the Queen. She will never be the sole Queen of England.
Yeah, so if her husband dies, it goes straight to his son.
When Charles dies, it will go automatically to William,
King William,
and so forth.
So there'll be a King William of England. At the same time, there'll be William of America over here taking charge. Yeah.
I like how you joined those two together. That was quite seamless. And I know you've got your, what do you call, is it a bandana?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you may have to put some gems in that.
Yeah.
As Billy of America.
Red, white, and blue.
I think there's a T-shirt there as well. Billy of America.
Can you see it? My hype man Repriese in the background.
Billy of America.
Yeah. Our final battle. See, when they do the movie about us one day, somebody will play your role, a pivotal role, of you being the Englishman that set up the battle in the end. And yeah, we share a name, so I think somewhere down the line.
Oh, it's right on the coattails, Billy.
We're destined to cross paths.
Of course. So now we've gone through, today's and yesterday's news and a little bit of international dealing with, HRH, His Royal Highness.
Yeah.
And perhaps we can come back and close it in and be a little bit more regional, because there's been a lot going on regionally. Huge amount going on for Ferrum. Huge amount going on for Rocky Mountain.
Oh, yeah.
And there's all kinds of there's discontent. You can feel it with local Franklin County politics. And I'm sure I'm missing at several other points because it's been such an explosive week or 10 days. But the local stuff is definitely very intriguing. We got friends of Ferrum who look like they're now in discussions with the Board of Supervisors to get that 85 acres.
Which there should really be no, I mean, at this point in time, look, if it's people of that community and they've got a stake in that community and they've been there long enough, and you can, if you want to, if you want to split hairs and figure out what those credentials may be, but I think we could all pretty much understand who's got a stake in the town and who doesn't and who's been there. But if you've been sitting on that land for 30 years, number one, you shouldn't have been sitting on that land in the first place. Once again, it might have not been y'all, but we're not business developers here. You are supposed to get people into this county. If they want to take it back, now take your money back and run.
That issue has been raised, and it's a little bit of a multifaceted argument because it isn't complex. The land was bought 30 years ago, or 27 years ago, anyway, a long time ago, by the county. So, unfortunately for the county, that then becomes something that they wear, right? Because it to me, this is a glaring example of why the county should not be purchasing land indiscriminately, and with no plan in mind, and they are at that point they are speculating, right? So that speculation angle actually supports this argument, and that they shouldn't be doing it. Some 27 years ago, land was bought 85 acres. all the intentions and everything was put out there. I believe in 2007, there was this big master plan, the latest master plan, whatever the master plan is. It sounds kind of, it's devilish, isn't it? Oh, we have a master plan. But that was 2007, and it hadn't been updated. We represented ourselves as the Appalachian podcast at a couple of the meetings, whether it was school board, board of supervisors, and all of this. So we kind of got intermingled in this, and we were asked to by Friends of Ferrum. So you've got the last master plan, and anyway, they're trying to either offload this land or do something with it. And these two proposals come up. So you've got two proposals. Here's one. Countless single wides being thrown up the only road that you can really develop, because a lot of it is wetland. A lot of it is mature woodland. It's very close to, in fact, it's adjoining Ferrum College and their trails. So one proposal was just, in my mind, I looked at it and went, that is a dreadful proposal, right? I don't even know who the group were or who was involved with it. But it almost seemed like a fake proposal. If you wanted to put a proposal forward that you thought was going to fail, that's one of the best examples of a proposal that you could put forward, because it was destined to tank. So Friends of Ferrum came up, and they came with all the right. They didn't max out on the number of homes. They were very concerned about the environment, how that land was going to get developed, the wetlands, silting into the creeks and what have you around there, working closely with Ferrum College, and this was very much supported by the community of Ferrum. Now, if you haven't got, if that's what's presenting you within your parameters of an acceptable proposal from the very community, done deal. There should have been no contention to this. I mean, it just blew my mind that there was. So I think they presented a really good plan. It puts the Board of Supervisors in a bit of a tough spot, because how I see it, as the Friends of Ferrum, they're a non-profit. They're going to, it isn't about making money. So at that point, as a community and as taxpayers, they actually already own that land, even if it's under the auspices of Franklin County owns it. Really, for Franklin County to own the land is hog shit, because it's bought with taxpayers' money. So we actually own the land. So there is a counter argument to say, you know what? If the community wants it and you've done nothing with it in 27 years, and they've got they've come up with their plan that's acceptable under all the guidelines that you presented in your 2007. At what point do you charge a non-profit community for the land? I mean, to me, you're on pretty unstable ground when you say, well, you now need to pay not just the assessed value, but the new assessed value. Now, there's two sides to that argument as well. As taxpayers, we want to get our money back from the clowns that bought the land 27 years ago. That should go back into county coffers. I get that. But then to really stiff this group by saying, oh no, we're going to negotiate, and I think you should be paying the new assessed value. You've sat on that land for damn near 30 years and done nothing with it. That's me being very polite. So at what point, just give it to them. Because what they're going to do is generate a tax revenue for you with new houses, whether they're double wides, modulars, whatever it may be. They're not single wides. It's not a bloody RV park. Whatever it is, it's not that. It's done very responsibly by the community. You're going to increase your tax revenue. Okay? So I'm kind of caught between the full county going, you can't give them the land because we want our money back. But at what point do you say, that should never have been invested in the first place. And it's actually our land anyway. It's a conundrum. I hope the negotiations go and everyone is happy with, and that being the taxpayers that made this initial investment are satisfied, which is all of Franklin County, and the community then gets to go ahead and live its dream.
Maybe part of the negotiations can be moving forward. No government entity can purchase or speculate or do anything with land, buildings, because unless no.
Well, unless
there's no unless anymore, because every time you give an unless, now they're building, you say, okay, well, they can do this for these buildings and these are for schools. And then they find a way to always justify it. Well, now we're buying land to bring in businesses and industry, and there's no business or industry there. And
well, now we're going into Summit View and all that nonsense.
Yeah, either way, but still, anytime the government's involved in buying something, they fail at it. Oh, I mean, the harvester failed at it. This $5 million project in town, I don't even say they broke. I don't even know what. It's been a year now. I haven't even seen. And of course, has anything been said about that? Are they moving forward with that? What are they doing with that? I mean, it seems like every time we purchase land around here as a government entity, it sits and does nothing. Or we have or when they do have the opportunities, like apparently we've had opportunities for this Moducraft building to put school stuff in there, and you're getting pissing contests between the county and the town. And so instead of, maybe turning that into some CTE building or something, now you got to spend $30 million building a brand new building somewhere, doing all this kind of,
whilst we're closing elementary schools down.
Exactly. Like it's just always nonsense back and forth, pissing. So when you give them just a little bit, they're always going to take it and do whatever they want with it. And when you do have the space for the building of the land, they don't do crap with it until somebody comes along with a good idea. Then they want to charge you have to ask for it back or make,
I think there's a certain point in time where you swing around and say, as a taxpayer, if you are spending X amount of taxpayers' money on one project, there needs to be a referendum. In the digital age, this is not a costly exercise. It really isn't. But they are so scared of being held to account by the people that voted them in. This is the one thing that they cannot let go of. And we've seen this. So that's where we're at with land speculation. It's been an absolute disaster. Fraser Firm have had a great week. And I rejoice with them. It's kind of weird that I do, because but the plan made sense and it was promoted by the community. So how can you not support that? So yeah, I'm on board with what they've presented and how they're going to move forward. I wish them luck in their negotiations. I hope they don't get stiffed, with a full new assessed value to purchase those 85 acres. And I hope that follows through. It's a good thing for Ferrum. I wish they figured out how to sort that culvert out and McAdoo's. But that's just more stupidity of local and regional government and state government.
If you're a citizen go in there and try and fix it, well, they'll spend twice the money to go back in and tear it up. What was that?
Well, there's a problem. I mean, we know that if the state does anything, it's going to cost you 3 times as much as if you got, Joe Blow. We need a firehouse. We can put it up for 1.2 million. Oh shit, we're in for one at 7. That, gets how many calls a year? I mean, it's preposterous. So, yeah, we should be looking locally for solving if we've got a problem, we can solve and make the solution. But, that firehouse at Glade Hill that's such an abomination. How dare you stand behind that? And I'll get slated because, oh no, it's a firehouse. You can support. I do support.
No, there should have been a firehouse there,
I do support,
but one that made sense.
One that makes sense.
Yeah.
And now you've got certain members of the Board of Supervisors saying, well, why don't we just get rid of all the volunteer fire forces and then we'll put the tax rate up X amount and be done with it. No, our volunteer firefighters are the backbone of this community, and I fully support them. But not when it comes to dropping 7 million on a. I'm trying to keep it friendly. I'm trying to keep it friendly, Billy. Can you see the struggle?
Yeah, just it doesn't make good sense. You know,
I mean, but it's even worse than that. They said it was going to be 5, and
which
all of
even
a
at the time
sudden
could have
it's
been.
7. How on earth did it? How on earth did it get above 2? You clowns! You've got to be joking.
I remember when the story came out. It was before the show ever started. I was sitting up at the wood shop, and I was talking to Amos about it. He didn't know nothing about the story yet, and I was just kind of asking him about it. And I started, you know, probing him a little bit and finding out. I asked him. I said,
Oh, he's been having a heart attack over that.
I said,
Years.
so build this firehouse, this new one down here in Glade Hill. Now, you know how Glade Hill is. I said, you know the area, you know there's not a lot of calls going through there. Even if it goes all the way to the lake, you got Coal Branch down at the lake. You got Rocky Mountain's always going to come in for that kind of stuff. You got Scruggs, which is across the lake. You could come there easily. I mean, it's not, you know. I said, so, and you know where their current firehouse is, right there on the side of 40, you know, a couple bay doors or whatever. Maybe an updated building's fine, but the same amount of garage doors, maybe add one or whatever. I said, so we're going to get you to build a spot. Build them a brand new one. How much? He said they thought about it for a few minutes. He said, for $500,000, I could build them the sweetest freaking firehouse they'd ever seen.
Yeah.
And house all their needs. $500,000. I said, how much you reckon the initial, estimate was?
The approved estimate was for 5, and they ended up paying 7.
He could have did it for, what's that, a tenth?
Unbleeping believable.
Could have done it for a tenth.
I'm editing myself here. This is how offended I am, and so now, and it's still, I don't even know which way I'm going with this now, because it tells me that financially, the administrators and the folks behind, and our board of supervisors, whether it's our school board, whether it's our town council, they all make these decisions with a very distinct lack of oversight and input from the community, with significant financial implications for the tax-paying rates that they're now looking to apply. And we're going to get caught. We're in some interesting ground here, because I think the board of supervisors, even though the tax rate has been one thing, they've come in and put in a lower tax rate that isn't going to crucify us. So we're not looking at 61 cents on 100 with that new assessed valuation. So I think they've been, fairly responsible with that new rate, but the assessment is still going to crush us in the next 4 years, because it really opens up what they can do. I don't know what the town is going to declare as their tax rate, and that's a bone of contention between the town and the board of supervisors, which then brings me on to, we've got a very dysfunctional relationship at the moment between town council, county seat, town council, and our board of supervisors. So at the moment, we've got a dysfunctional government from both these two entities. And then you bring in the fire truck issue.
Yeah, what was that back and forth that I saw on the internet not too long ago with what board of supervisors member? They had taken some video of her saying a few things. What was she saying in that video?
Well, I mean, it's not to Laurie Smith's advantage to go back and view some of the comments that she made. It concerns me that it's got a little bit personal. And I think that the fundamentals behind the town approaching the county for dual funding of the fire truck, whilst maintaining ownership of the fire truck, isn't an unreasonable stance for the town to present. But the bickering is inconceivable that it's got to this point. And this then comes into, and this is a problem that county, town, school board and state need to figure out is their budgeting timelines are absolutely discombobulated. Because Bill Stanley at the auditorium gave a very positive note about how he could solve the problem and the school closures. But the school board then went, almost within 3 days, said, well, we're closing the schools anyway, despite what Bill Stanley said. And it tells me that the budgeting timelines and deadlines are so out of sync that you cannot work them together. And this shouldn't be the case. The state should be very clear about its budgeting. The county should be very clear and not waiting on the state. And the school board, but none of them work in unison. And this causes just a massive problem with, well, if we don't get this from state, then we can't do this. Now we've got to close to.
What always gives them somebody to point the finger at as well.
It absolutely
it's like one of these.
does.
It's like one of these deals out here with homelessness. How much, or cancer, any of these things? How many billions have we given to these things? If they ever found a cure for any of it, or found a way to stop homelessness, these people wouldn't they wouldn't have a job anymore.
Good analogy.
They really wouldn't. I mean, they wouldn't have a job. So what do? They have given billions in California to homelessness, and it's as worse as it's ever been. It's because you can't fix it. If you went out there and you magically, with your hand waved, and hundreds of houses popped up with garages and everything like that, and you can move all the homeless people in there, you're not fixing the problem. Why? Because a lot of them are still going to go in there. Who's going to maintain those houses? They're going to destroy them. They're going to fall apart. They're going to burn down. You need people, because these people aren't most of them aren't right in the head. They're homeless because our insane asylums have closed down, because people are on the streets now as opposed to being locked up.
They're being medicated, not treated.
Yes, and even if they're lucky to get medicated, a lot of them don't. They wander the streets unmedicated, and they get whatever drug they can to do whatever they can do to survive. But a lot of them don't. Some of them out there want to be there. They don't mind being homeless. Some of them are there for economic reasons, but a lot of them are there because there's mental issues going on there, and we don't have the ability to keep them locked up anymore because there's so many regulations.
None of those facilities exist.
No,
they've all been shut down. There's none of, you cannot, those days are gone.
Yeah, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. You can give somebody a house, you can give them shelter, but it doesn't mean, what's that going to do for them?
You can lead a horse to water.
Yeah, but you can't make them drink.
But a pencil must be lead. Don't think about that. It's my own private little code, but there we go. So there's a lot has been going on this week. But over the last 10 days, and there's still a lot to do, because to me, the one that is hiding behind all of this nonsense locally is the wish from the Board of Supervisors to zone the whole county. Now, this is the battle that's the one that we've really got to get our teeth into, because they're under the impression, when I say they, the Board of Supervisors, is under the impression that we just don't know how good being zoned as a county would be. I'm going, I don't want you as our HOA. Go away.
Yeah.
To have a Board of Supervisors that has made a number of horrendous financial decisions over the last decade or so, probably goes back a lot further.
Oh, much.
Why would you want them telling you what you can and can't do with your land? I don't want them as an HOA. I'm standing firm on that. That's the battle that's coming. And this is the battle that the residents of Franklin County need to get their skin in the game, because a resounding no for rezoning the whole county needs to be heard loud and clear. I am 100% against rezoning. I do not want the Board of Supervisors as my HOA. Go to hell.
Well, I do know that apparently the last meeting, it was pretty tight in that room. The place was packed. So good job on that front. Look, every single meeting they have, show up in there. If it's got to be one.
It was a victory for
if it's got to be one agenda item that you focus on, get everybody to show up in there. It doesn't have to be the same people every single time. Excuse me. But I guess it went on till almost 11 o'clock. And
It
of
was
course,
it was strung out. There was a lot of people made some fantastic comments, and you know what I got from when I left that initial meeting concerning particularly Ferrum and their situation was that, and I'll come back to that in a minute. Actually, sorry, I had a stray thought because I'm trying to keep all the dots joined together. Is that everyone on the board acknowledged that the community um, proposal from Friends of Ferrum regarding those 85 acres, they supported it. Some very strongly, some with a little bit of, we need to figure out how we price it for them, or we've got to figure out how we negotiate with the second party and how we tell them that their bid has failed. And there was all sorts of legal implications. Nauseating. Just make a decision. Anyway, so that was, and they came through, and the heat in the room, I think, encouraged and really set the tone for approval of the Friends of Ferrum projects, and rightly so. I'll say that out loud, rightly so. We'll see where it goes from here. I hope they get a good deal, and they can move forward and made that project happen. 27 years in a waiting.
so what you're saying that with the amount of people that were there, it was a nice show of force by the community.
Absolutely.
Was there a large police presence to hold back as a show of force?
No, the deputies that are there are very engaging with the community. They are very supportive. They know that we are there to express our opinions, whether
some of those board members lead you to believe that they're there as their personal Gestapo.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, and that's nonsense. The fact that character said that very publicly.
I think we can mention that in every show for the next 4 years.
Oh, we probably could. And, to his detriment, I'm sure he's going, I wish I'd never said that. And I get that too. But there was an interesting thing that made my ears twitch. So when that Ferrum meeting, the county attorney pretty much laid a very veiled threat down that, you cannot record what goes on in the closed meeting. You cannot disclose. And there was a number of legal litigations taking place in counties within Virginia for certain board members that did record and disclose what was discussed in the closed meeting. And I thought that very inappropriate. I thought that had no business being mentioned, in front of a public hearing. And I actually viewed it as slightly intimidating towards the board before they went into, a closed meeting and a potential voting session. I thought that was very inappropriate, and I've got deep concerns about that. I viewed that as intimidation.
I don't know what you need closed door meetings for anyway, really. I mean, anything.
Well, I know I absolutely agree with Robert's rules and closed meetings, and as long as you abide by the Robert's rules of closed meetings, they're absolutely necessary.
We're asking a whole lot. Most likely they're not. They're just probably going back there to say, all right, let's quell the silence.
Well, I'm not even going to go into that. But I thought,
just speculation.
I thought the county attorney coming out with that at that particular point in time, that was a villainous move. It kind of pissed me off. And I'm surprised that no one else got slightly agitated by it. But anyway, I'll leave that to the viewing public to go back maybe at the 5:35, 5:40 timestamp at the Ferrum meeting to figure out exactly what he said, how he said it, and whether they would react that way. I thought it was inappropriate, but that's just me.
Well, people need to make sure they show up here to the next meeting. Look it up on your calendar to be sometime here in early April. Find something on there, go there, show up, talk, spend your 3 minutes, say what you got to say. Same thing for school board, and same thing for town council. Get in those rooms every single week, let them know you're there. Hopefully
It makes a difference.
hopefully we'll start coordinating a little bit better here in the near future once we start kind of figure we're at every meeting one way, shape, or form. And we encourage anybody that is at the meetings or anybody that's paying attention or listening, reach out to us. Because by now we don't go out there and scream people's names, and we don't give up sources. So uh, feel free to be discreet or anonymous, but we have to verify some way, shape, or form what you're saying. So if you got to reach out to us, reach out to us. And you know, we've had a lot come our way, and sometimes it makes its way into the air. Sometimes we're still looking into it. But we do appreciate everybody that does listen and reaches out through third party, whatever the case may be, to get it out there and speak. Because it's like you said, it's a crazy world we live in. It's not just people worry about their jobs. There's intimidation factors. There's the mob is ugly. We like to pretend like we don't have that sort of thing here, but we really do. We really do.
I think we've got to be heard. I would like the local population to realise, and I think the Friends of Ferrum is case in point. You can change the atmosphere within the room and the voting outcome. I'm not saying mob rule is the way to go. I don't necessarily agree with that either. It has to be based on, sound decisions that benefit the county and benefit the county as far as every taxpayer. And at that point, you're on the right path, but we're not there yet.
No,
not even close.
Well, we'll go ahead and lock it up at that point in time. We got places to be and things to do. So appreciate everybody that tuned in. We're not going to do an after show or anything this week, but hopefully next week we might get a chance to do something like that. We do got some awesome guests lined up here in the near future. Some even bigger guests. We're waiting on the camera stuff to get in here and waiting on a couple of sponsors. Hopefully the next few weeks, all that's going to pan itself out. In the meantime, you can go to patreon.com/getontap to become a subscriber, get our after shows, get shows early. A lot of these VIP events we have, you'll be the first to know about it, to get your tickets, come hang out, meet some of these people we have on the show. So thank you for everybody that does that at patreon.com/getontap. One-time donations at Venmo or Cash App at Get On Tap. You can do something there. Everything you do, we certainly appreciate it for hanging out. Chip and Amos and all of our buddies couldn't be here tonight. Like I said, it was just one of those kind of deals. We just wanted to get something out here to you and hope you enjoyed it and give you something to think about. Simon?
Yeah, I mean, to me, over the next 4 to 6 weeks, I think we need to be very engaged with so many facets of local government that are going on right now, with school closures, funding, tax rates, fire truck funding. All of this needs our attention because it's our tax dollars that are making some of these things happen or not, as the case may be. And it's in our interest.
Yeah, and it's also not like it used to be where, groceries were cheap, gas was cheap, and you could be like, okay, well, what if it fell up here, there? No, now money's getting tight.
Oh, gas is jumping.
Money's getting tight, and money's tight. We ain't got time to be fooling around with paying y'all extra to keep screwing up. Those times are gone, so keep paying attention, keep hanging out, check us out there. We got some other cool stuff here in the very near future about to pop off. We'll let you know about that maybe next week, and where to find us at. We're all social media, hopefully here in the next couple of days. If nothing else, by the end of the month, my suspension on Facebook should be up, so we should start reaching most of our listeners again over there. We'll start posting a little bit more often. We do post our shows over there, but X is where the commentary's at. There's a lot of good people over there that give us a follow and keep up, and Instagram's starting to pop back around as well. We do a lot of collaborations with Chip, some funny videos and memes, so go check that out. Look for the Appalachian Podcast on all of those, and hopefully we got something good for you next week.
Yeah, just keep it positive. We've seen some good stuff happen this week. We've seen some dreadful stuff happen, but locally, we can control our destiny if we're all engaged.
Yeah, we're winning right now. So just, keep the spirit you got strong, and don't let negative things bring you down, because we really are winning. If we weren't winning, they wouldn't be sweating so much. So keep your foot on the gas, and we'll pull through this on the other side good as we went through it. Until next time, we'll see you.
changing lanes. They pulled him over, found her cocaine. She said, I love you. Yes, I love you forevermore. If you tell that policeman that that cocaine load is yours, he spent time locked up while she ran around. Everyone knew it, small country town. While he lay rotten, Lord, she was blowing on his door. And the day they released him, really had nowhere to go. Lord, and his ashes to ashes, and you know it's dust to dust. Just another low down woman that a man can't trust. They released him, no one was there. Had she forgotten? Did she still care? He called up her mama, Lord, and these words he heard her cry. Lord, that no good daughter of mine spend all your money on cocaine, overdosed and died. Lord, it's ashes to ashes, and you know it's dust to dust. Just another low down woman that a man can't trust. In the spring, one sunny day, my good gal left me.